Good afternoon, everybody. Bobby Cleveland, Executive Director, Oklahoma Corrections Professionals, along with Representative Representative Justin JJ Humphrey. Humphrey, did you make it in on you made it in on time today.
I made it in on time. I come through the rain, Bob. I got my report done on ATF. Woke up this morning and wrote my report on ATF saying that they illegally extorted a gentleman and raided his home. And so, yeah, I've had a pretty productive morning, Bob.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. It seems like it just never ends. As we're looking for you don't have to look for things to talk about. They just fall on your lap. Just like it just doesn't stop. But JJ, let's just start off with what do you think about this $90,000 pay raise, and the governor saying he wants top notch people. Well, because you pay them top notch doesn't make them a top notch people.
Well, Bob, I think it's quite funny that I've been in corrections or been around corrections. I started roughly about 89 and I went to college, studying corrections, criminal justice, then started my internship in 89 and I've been there. I don't know of a time. DOC has always tried to stay on the back page of the newspapers and being in the news and all that. They always try to avoid being in the news, have all my career and all the time I've known them. And Bob, I just want you to think about, I'd say in the last 2 months, 2 3 months, heck, they've been on the news. They've been the main news for you know, probably 2 3 months, Bob. And now here we are again. This is not me and you get blamed for half of that news cycle. You know what I'm saying? And we get blamed for putting people this, and we get accused of everything that's on DOC. But I didn't even know about it. Heck, I didn't even know about this till you sent me the article, and I was in a big meeting with some legislators. I spent half time reading that. And then Bob, when you come on, I'm trying to find another article that I saw talking about comparing Texas and comparing California and comparing and I can't find that article. I'm gonna find it before we get off here because I wanted to be able to quote that because look that up. But Bob, I mean, here's the deal. When you're talking to employees, and again, I don't know if all your listeners, you think everybody knows what we're talking about. So what we're talking about for those listening is that it come out on, if you want to see it, it's on non-doc. Pull up non-doc Oklahoma executive raises, and apparently the governor gives all these executive raises a year ago. I'm taking it almost a year ago, and nobody knew it. And now it comes out that he gave the Department of Corrections director a 46. I think no, it's 48.6 raise. It was $90,000. So if I'm not mistaken, he was making 185,000, and this brought him up to about 275,000. And man, I ain't talked to anybody in the Department of Corrections and ain't pretty mad about that, Bob.
Well, I have had a lot of calls and asking when am I going to get raised? He's going to make this money. So he's making $90,000 raise is that could put two correction officers in business or people in the kitchen. But we're forgetting about the people, ones on the front line. When we do that, when he says he's got to look at the top notch people, well, you've got people out there that are doing their job and getting fired.
Well, Bob, we talked last week about a person that had been in over the kitchen stuff and who had left and really didn't want to leave, who really loved their job. They loved what they were doing. They loved where they were at, but things had just gotten where they were having to work, 80 hours a week. They were never getting any time off. They couldn't get paid for their overtime, left, resigned and went to find another job. Not really what they wanted to do, what they had to do. They just couldn't continue to work those kind of hours. And now is fighting to get paid the $8,000 that the state owes them, and you got to fight. You got to fight like hell to get $8,000 that's due you. You work for it. You put your hours in for it, and to see somebody get $90,000 who just showed up. So if we're talking about a year ago, I mean, this got done apparently right when if we're talking a year ago, he'd been there just about 1 year right now. And so apparently this happened when he came on. You had a director that was leaving that had a lot of experience. Director Crow had a whole lot of experience. I mean, I agreed with some of his choices. I didn't agree with all of them. I probably had a better relationship with Director Crow because he would sit down and talk to you. And
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? I just had a better relationship with him than I do with the current director. I'm not mad at the new director, Director Harp. I'm not mad at him, but I can tell you, um, I have very little relationship where I had I felt like a really good relationship with Director Crow. And
Yeah.
Director Crow's getting 185, and I know Director Crow was there when I was there, so I know he had 20 plus years of experience in the Department of Corrections, in high levels of the Department of Corrections, worked his way through the ranks. He's making 185. A guy that has zero experience, zero training, zero knowledge, comes in and immediately gets moved up to $275,000. That don't look good. It doesn't look good. Again, I'm not mad at anybody. I don't begrudge anybody for getting paid. I understand what the governor's saying. We've got to get these positions up to competitive. But by damn it, if we're going to get positions up to competitive, let's get all positions up to competitive. And I mean, this ain't competitive. I was looking for that article, Bob. Uh, and I can't remember, me and you exchanged so much stuff. I can't remember whether I saw this, you sent it to me, how we end up getting it. But I know you saw the same article where it talked about that Texas has, and I'm going to quote some numbers I think I remember from that article. Texas has about a 3.6 billion budget. We have a $6 million budget, meaning they have a $3 billion greater budget than us. They had about 3 times the inmate population, maybe even 4 times. I can't remember. It's quite significantly larger. The guy that is director for the Department of Corrections had 30 years experience. He's making 275. So how can you say that somebody with the $3 billion bigger budget, 3 to 4 times the inmate population, and 30 years experience ought to make the same as the guy up the road with a $600 million, $500 million budget, a third to a quarter of the inmate population, and no experience is making the same as that. And hey, he was close to California. California even had more inmates, and again, a bigger budget, a much bigger budget, bigger in Texas. And that guy and he had 30 years experience, I think, if I remember.
You talk about Texas?
Well, California, I looked at California. They had an article there on California as well. And California was even bigger than Texas. And I think, if I remember right, and they had, I think he got 290. I think he drew 290, but my gosh, he had a whole lot bigger. The one that was pretty close to us, Bob, was Kansas. And if I remember, that director came over from Idaho, because I read this pretty closely. He came over from Idaho with about 30 years experience. And I think he makes right now, Kansas, which is close to us, about 141,000. So I would say 185,000 was probably just about right. If you want to look at other states, and that's what we do when we're looking at pay raise, we go around and say, okay, states that join us, what are we kind of like, and we compare ourselves to. So if you want to compare us to Kansas and Texas, which are good comparison right on both sides, hey, we were pretty high when you look at Kansas population, what they've got, budget, whole 9 yards. They're 141. We're sitting at 185. Uh, you know, I would have thought 185. I've got 30 years experience in law enforcement. I'm chairman of corrections with the whole state. Um, if you told me that I could go in and work that at 185, I wouldn't blink an eye. That'd be a pretty good salary. In my opinion, when you're looking at, I think the average person, what they make in Oklahoma is 40,
40,000.
45,000.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, it's concerning that I don't think the governor would do these raises like that if he was his money, but he's spending other people's money, so he's not worried about it. But
well,
I do agree we need to get some top level people in there, and we've had some problems, all along. But our problems continue to escalate at DOC. We
Bob,
just
I think another thing is if a guy worked for you, if he's worked for you, and then you put him in one of the highest places, and there's a lot of problems going on there, and now you move him over here, and it looks like from the first day you move him, you bounce him up $90,000, and he don't have any experience. I mean, he got zero experience. I don't see how you'd spin that to make it look good. I mean, you know what I'm saying? I laugh all the time and say, hey, right now, old Gene Stipe was famous for, he was famous in Oklahoma, and a lot of people don't know who Gene is now, but old Gene been in there about 50 years, and he was pretty famous for getting everybody a job, or you had to go through Gene to get a job in southeastern Oklahoma, especially in Craigston. Hey, this stuff, you'd make Gene Stipe blush at some of the cronyism and what's going on here. My gosh, $90,000 raise the minute you hit. You have no experience. You hit, you get a $90,000 raise when you're already pretty high. Now, I will tell you this, Bob. When I'm looking at what DHS got or was getting compared to DOC, I don't think that DOC should be below DHS, because I know DHS has problems and they got a lot of employees and they have a large budget. I get that, but I'll guarantee you I've worked around both of them, and DHS ain't got the 24/7 problems and the level that it could go to, talking about riots and
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that. The Department of Corrections is the toughest job of all the jobs
Oh,
around.
I'll hold up. He's got a heck of a bad. He's got a tough job. And
But at the same time, he's losing employees more. He loses more than he brings in. You got all those lawsuits. Now you could say that, oh, they're just frivolous. We don't not, but to have eight, I think was it 8 or 9?
Nine top executives,
wardens sue.
Wardens and food. It's not just wardens. That's what's troubling, Bob. If it's one group of people, maybe you could go in and say, okay, these people aren't doing their job. And there's some of them on that list. I talked to a reporter the other day. They asked me about one specifically. In fact, it was the warden of Eddie Warrior. And what I told him, I said, here's what's shocking to me. Here's what I can't wrap my head around. The Department of Corrections comes in on our hearing and acts like we plumb lost our mind at what's going on at Eddie Warrior. And
they never disagreed with it at all.
Oh, here's the deal. We had reported that warden was coming in drunk or was drinking on the job, that they were cussing employees and inappropriate behavior, that these rapes were not properly investigated and that they knew about it should. Those kind of things. We had reported all that, and they're saying, oh, that's a total lie. That's not true. But then they turn around and they get rid of the warden, and I think the deputy warden. I believe that the deputy warden was gone too. And again, now you have this, and what I understand, they're saying, well, he left of his own will. Well, if he left of his own will, then why is he suing you? You know what I'm saying? So the whole conversation of what their stance is that makes absolutely no sense. But again, the question is, did you go down and terminate that person properly? Now, hey, if you find that they're doing heinous stuff that automatically qualify to fire them, super. But then come out and say that. Don't come to a hearing. Don't come and tell us we plumb lost our mind on what we're saying. You can't have your cake and eat it too. You can't come in and tell, oh, Bobby Cleveland and J.J. Humphrey's just a bunch of liars and Dr. Lewis is a big liar and all the employees that reported this that they have confidential statements from are all big, big fat liars, but we're going to turn around and fire this person. And then say, oh, no, they wanted to leave. It just don't add up. And then if he wanted to leave, why is he suing? So there's some things I'm going to be really interested to come out. I'd love to see it. What's their reasoning behind, and again, what they're wanting to set up and say, we don't have to give a reason. We can fire anybody for whatever reason we want. And that's the problem. That's what's happened under this Civil Service Act, that our director was the one that was responsible for creating that. And again, to fire people like the doctor and just come in willy-nilly and fire him and then bring over somebody you used to work with that has no experience in corrections, that doesn't have a medical degree, that's not qualified to do that job. That's the kind of questions that again, when you come on and you don't have any experience, you don't have a degree, you don't have, and again, degrees are great. I like education, but there's nothing that would substitute for practical experience. And again, you had, his person right under him's got massive experience. Massive experience. I could see that person. And again, you've got this person, and then to get a $90,000 raise, and then to have all these problems that we're talking about. It's that, like I say, they've been in the news every week, whether it be, let's kind of go down through it, Bob. You help me out because too much to remember. But if you just start with the covering up rapes, which I still feel like that we put on evidence to show there's more than enough evidence.
They never disputed it.
Nah, they didn't present anything disputed. Whether it be the whistleblower incident, whether it be firing Tifa Tiller after, the problems they've had, the 8 to 9 executives that have now made the news cycle, the stabbings at Great Plains. And I can tell you, I talked to a reporter the other day. Me and this reporter was just saying what we're hearing, what he's getting called on and what I'm getting called on. And I was shocked. Hey, this reporter's hearing the same thing about them locking people in showers, not feeding appropriately. They're calling me about, the conditions in the prison, especially at Great Plains. But
did DOC acknowledge that they heard this was going on, so they got OIG to investigate it?
Well, I think they are looking into it. Yeah. On the people locked in showers, I think they are looking into it. I don't know, but again,
I've had from so many people that's told me that, and I don't think all these people is lying.
Well, and Bob, I thought it was pretty much kind of under wraps, and we hadn't talked about it on here. We've talked. I don't think we've ever mentioned that on this program. But again, I get a call from a reporter the other day who was already saying, "Oh yeah, I've heard." And again, I know there's not one source. There's multiple sources out there. I know you've gotten letters documenting that, stating that. I've gotten documentation on that. That we're not coming on here and saying it's so, but I do know there's documentation of that would be taken seriously. And again, here's where I'm at. Do I trust the department to do an investigation? I have to say, no, I don't. because I've seen what they did on the rape allegations. I've seen how they've treated that. I've seen how they're willing to just go to the floor and get out and say, we plumb lost our mind when we're providing witness after their own witnesses, their employees. And I'll tell you the number one thing, Bob, that ought to speak volumes to everybody. When you get letter after letter after letter saying what you're saying is true and what y'all are doing is right, and writing reports yourself, but going, you cannot use my name, don't use my name on a rape allegation. You know what? If people are scared to come forward on rape allegations, what that sends the volumes out to say what kind of condition we're in. If I knew somebody was being raped, illegal going on, hey, I'm happy to, it's my duty to do that. And people are scared to come forward. Bob, if you locking people in showers and that kind of stuff, I guess we did talk about that because I think we had.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I forgot. We did have Matt. We had Matt on to discuss that don't cover this stuff up because of civil rights. You're right. But Bob, when people are scared to come forward on stuff like this, it speaks volumes. People should be be able to. It speaks volumes.
Well, but you got a number of the rapes going on. You got a number of people who's quit and left because of a lot of turmoil. You've got inmate killed. Another guy. I don't know what happened to the other person. There were supposed to be two of them. One of them died, and the other one, I don't know how bad he got hurt. But we don't know. They can't get that out. But there's just a lot of things that going on under his watch, and I don't see anything happening to be positive about that. Now, I agree. I totally agree with getting rid of it.
Well, I hope maybe me and you are missing the boat, and hey, in the next week or two, bam, things will pop out, and it'll be like, dadgummit, their plan worked, and I never saw it coming. I don't wish them bad luck. I want to see the best for all employees and for the inmates and for the state of Oklahoma. I want to see that. But Bob, we get a lot of criticism because we come out and everybody says we're negative. And I crack up because we had one program where we spent a lot of time saying, please send in the positive. We want to report on the positive. The only problem is, how many people call you to report positive, Bob?
I don't get any calls.
I've
had one or two.
I do. I can tell you, I got a prison down here where people are said, hey, things are better than what it was, and they'll report that.
That's good.
Yeah, I'm tickled. I'm glad for them.
But how long did it take? How long did it take them to do anything about this? We complained about it quite a while ago.
It did, but now I will tell you that it happened under this administration, and it happened pretty quick under this administration. So Bob, when if there's credit to be given, I'm going to give credit. If there's bragging needs to be bragged on, I'll brag. I want to brag on them. I don't want to. I want to be able to come in and say, look how positive things are going. Look at the great training we're getting. Look at how we got these raises for people. Look how we're drawing people in and how we're growing and getting the proper numbers. But Bob, here's what I got to say is, how do you even tell the proper numbers? And you go down to one prison, even a prison that's doing pretty good, and you say, are you full? Do you have all the officers you're supposed to? Yeah. My roster's full. Are you got as many officers as you did 3 years ago? Oh, no. We don't have anywhere close to that. Well, have you lost inmates? No, we're about the same inmate population and all that. Well, then how did you drop that many? Well, they take this and it's got to do with pens. I know all about the pens, but here's the deal, Bob. How is that still going on? And why is nobody? One of the biggest problems in the department, number of officers, and we're doctoring all this to show So if I call down there, yep, we're full. And I just did this the other day, just went, yep, we're full roster. And I'm just laughing, going, bullshit. You know what I'm saying? That's the deal. You're shorthanded. You're shorthanded all over the place. You're having to send people to other prisons shorthanded, making you more shorthanded. And everybody knows that. But instead of coming out and just addressing it and being transparent and fluent, we're not. And so again, then that rolls over to your budget. If you can't be transparent there, then how do we believe this budget stuff? And then if you can't be transparent in investigations and be honest and open in investigations, and again, if I can find, they say, well, we investigated. Okay, I don't deny that. But what I'm saying is, when I can sit on my butt at the Capitol and go find a guy that had letters that's talking about sex between an inmate and an officer, and I can get his testimony, say the guy admitted to him, guess what? And they say, well, that's secondhand. The hell it is. It's straight handed. It's that person told that person. If you have that person he told come in and testify, that's straight from the horse. He testifies, I heard it straight from the horse's mouth. That's fair game. It's fair game. Now you can let them tell you all, and they can try to whitewash it all they want. I've been in the courtroom 28 to 30 something years. And guess what? What I'm telling you is correct. And when you have it in writing and then he admits, you don't get a better case than that. And again, why wasn't that person charged? Again, you've got officers saying, well, it's consensual. And we know that's a lie. So those are the problems. And to act like there's no problem and then to fire a person when you can't even produce a reason, and then you're going to go, well, 5%, because I don't have to have a reason. And again, when you can't present a reason, and when you'll go write a letter that says, we didn't have a reason, but now we do have a reason. Wow. And that's the kind of stuff we're seeing. So again, when we're talking about whether it's people in showers, whether it's the way people get treated, and I said this way long time ago, Bob, if you remember when you were up there, they had a person in finance office, and their numbers were ridiculous. We caught them multiple times, just erroneous, just crazy numbers. Yeah. And again, what happened was when you were up there, if they sent anything over, you just assumed it was a stinking lie. You just went, that means nothing, throw that in trash. And that's
Humphrey, answer this question. You've been around, you're getting phone calls. Do you see that our staffing has improved?
Well, Bob, if you remember, they put out an article that I think they wrote saying that they had reduced the number of people leaving by, I can't remember, 13, 16%. They're talking about the retention rate.
Right.
And man, I can tell you right now, everywhere I talk to, what I'm hearing are people leaving. I had a person call me the other day that said all these new people that are getting hired are being told where they have to go. You remember that was a big, big deal that they were going to go, nope, you hire in and we're going to tell you where you go. And then they kind of dropped that because there was so much pushback on it. Well, what I'm being told are that you're having people go through these academies, and that when they find out, hey, I got to go over here and I can't go back to where I thought I was going to be hired in at, they're quitting. Now, I don't know whether, again, we can't get those numbers. So I don't know if it's true, not true, but that's what employees are telling me. And again, I catch hell because y'all just listen to the employees. Well, I do listen to employees because the administration doesn't really talk to me. And then when they do talk to me, I can't, the verification that I get doesn't line up. You know what I'm saying? And I'm going to go by verification. So what I'm saying today, Bob, I am saying what some employees have said to me. I'm not saying it's true. I make certain that if I say something is true, I got the documents to back it up. And when I say I think we covered up rates, when I think say that they violated whistleblower I got the evidence to prove that, and it's on videotape, by the way, if you want to watch it. But you know, when I say, hey, people are leaving and people they're hiring ain't staying and they're not going through the academy and they've lost a bunch, I don't know if that's true. That's what I'm hearing. And again, when I'm talking to people, people are talking about leaving. They're talking about other people leaving. So if they've reduced the you know if they've been able to increase retention, uh, that would be impressive because where I'm sitting, I don't see it.
Well, we still got, I think everybody is short of staffing. But let's talk about the kitchen workers. They're not paid near enough, way behind in getting the payroll. And that little old raise of 4% that they gave to caseworkers last time, that was not enough. The raises for the correctional officers, that was very good. That was good, but there's still room to improve there.
Well,
But
Bob, I
why
mean,
why why can't you get your overtime pay as a kitchen worker? Why do you not get paid for overtime? What do you have to do it on comp time? You know why? Because they know they can't take off because they're so short-handed. So they can't take it off. They can't just keep mounting up. They won't let them take off.
well, if you can't never get off, it eats on you too, and that's what that one kitchen worker, she quit just because she couldn't ever get off and she couldn't get paid. Bob, but now one of the things that I'm proudest of that I, as a legislator, is the part that me and you played in getting that huge raise for correctional officers, getting multiple raises for correctional officers. And one of the reasons we really concentrate on correctional officers because their pay was so down, unbelievably too low. And also, we have to, and we still are in an emergency situation. I say we are in a very critical situation at the shortage of staff. But one of the things I was most disappointed that we couldn't do a better job on, and we can always do better, is that the support staff who are right there in the middle of these prisons, who are right there on front row, got 4%. Now I'm glad I got helped get that in our row, and we had a very significant role, maybe one of the most significant roles in that. But the 4%, I'm glad that we got them 4%, but Bob, it ain't enough. And when you're talking about kitchen people, hey, you want to see where you want to talk about some of the most critical people and who are on front row. And if you're going to be in the middle of a fight, or I guarantee you the kitchen people, and if you want to talk about a bad place, hey, they got knives, they got hot stuff, they got you want to talk about probably maybe one of the most critical, dangerous places to work. It's your kitchen, and
Well, you got the nurses; they're in critical stages when
but
they go across there
they
and
are
have
critical.
nobody with them. They could get beat up, robbed, get their drugs or whatever. But they don't have enough people to give them armed security to go out to wherever they're going. They're out there in the
Well,
yard
and
by themselves.
Bob, I think the kitchen staff are more in a kind of a more hazardous area than the medical. But I will tell you this: you know what? If somebody dies that should have, you got a guy that dies because he didn't get his insulin shot. How are you going to defend that in the courtroom? You're not. You're supposed to have nursing staff. You're supposed to. So if you have somebody who dies, and again, they just lost a lawsuit not very long back on guy that died from appendix, I think, ruptured, and then they tried to cover it up, and that's what they got sued on, was covering it up, and it come out in court that they had the daggum details of how they tried to cover it up. Uh, that's the stuff we're talking about, Bob. Everybody is critical, and to have the shortage and to have the lack of pay that we do in the institution, to see somebody get a $90,000 raise just because they walked in. I mean, walk in and don't do a thing, and you go get a 48.6%, darn near 50%. And we're not talking 50% of 50,000. We're talking 50% of 185,000. So yeah, I could see where I can see where his employees are bad. I can see why they're calling me and you. I can see why, you know, I mean, I've had people, and again, they're threatening to quit. And, you know, I understand it. I mean, I don't know whether they will or won't. I tell you another thing I'm getting, Bob, I was going to try to look that up. Um, and I'm going to see if I can find it right here. But somebody sent me uh, a deal the other day. Yeah, here it is, and it says it right on there. I'm gonna put this up. I don't see if you can see that, Bob. I don't guess you can see what I'm putting up, but
Uh-uh.
it's so the people know what I'm putting up. It's got a picture of the Oklahoma Department of Corrections at the top, state. It's got the badge on one side and our state emblem. That little crazy, whoever come up with that, man. But anyways, it's got that. But it's got a picture of I don't know if that's Eddie Murphy. I can't see it, but somebody. Uh, it may not. It may just be somebody that's unknown. But it's got him pointing to his head right here, and it says, "If you check your time, your paycheck will be correct." It's like going, "Hey, stupid! If you check your time, your paycheck will be correct." So you got a lot of people that are having problems with their paycheck. Apparently, now this is what I'm being told again.
Yeah, I
And
talked to some.
again,
I talked to some this week.
well, here's what's funny, Bob. I wanted to show that because I know people can't see it, but it's there. And I want to show that because we get accused of lying and we get accused of making all this stuff up. And I want to show it. But that person who received that had a problem on their check. And guess what? That little email apparently that they sent out to everybody, it pissed that person off because it's like, hey, you're too stupid to look at your check. Check your timesheet and you'll be fine. Well, guess what? That's insulting when you send out a deal like that to people saying, hey, moron, check your check. You know, and again, why would we be sending out stuff like that? That's just being snarky. It's being a, you
Well,
know,
JJ, you take that, but you got the director talking to cadets. Don't join OCP. Don't join OCP. You know, and you got another one of his guys is talking to people in the prisons not to join, cancel your membership.
well, Bob,
You got that. So what would you think about if he has a problem with what we do? We represent the employees. We advocate for the employees to get them to keep them. If they get in trouble, that they follow the policy. They don't want to follow the policy, but the problem is they're going out and saying that. And of course, you know it is a violation of the contractual relationship that I have with the state of Oklahoma.
sure.
But I've had it in writing, numbers of them who've told me in writing what he said. But you know what? It kind of backfired on them because they're out more joining now. They said, "Hey, we must we must need to join because otherwise, why would he say not join?"
Well, Bob, I think me and you were talking, either me and you or Matt, one of us, I don't know who I was talking to, but I think one of you was telling me that you probably paid more this month, out highest ever, on defending employees from being either terminated or demoted
Mm-hmm.
or wrongfully disciplined, the highest it's ever been. Um, Again, if anybody needs a reason why they should join, right there. And if the department is telling you, if administrators are telling you, oh, don't join, that's a terrible program. And again, I know that some of them are worried if they do join, that they're going to be retaliated against just for joining. But if they're smart, guess what? If they're looking at the lawsuit that just was filed by a whole bunch of people who may have not been a member, I think if you go call those people up, those 9 administrators, I think most of them today would sing your praises and say, "Hey, what Bob Cleveland and JJ Humphrey's been talking about and doing are you know are 100% correct." I think if you would talk to those administrators, I think if you would talk to Dr. Lewis, who was an employee and who we've helped defend. You know, again, she had to pay for her own legal defense because she wasn't a member. but she knows that what we've been talking about is correct. And had she been a member, she would have been a lot better off. She wouldn't have had to spend as much money as what she has spent. And so, Bob, if they're out there telling you not to join, that ought to be the first reason why you say, I ought to join. And I just want to talk to the listeners. It ain't enough to join. Don't just join, become involved. I can tell you right now, Bob, I'm sitting back watching your organization. You do a lot of good things, but when's the last time y'all had a board meeting? When do you have a scheduled board meeting? Y'all need to schedule your board meetings to where, hey, everybody knows, have it set location, set times. Now, you can have one out in the field occasionally, let everybody know, hey, we'll come down southeastern Oklahoma or we'll go over here to western. Nothing wrong with that, but you need to have most of your meetings set at the same location, your same time, where people can show up, elect their officers, vote on what's going on, and participate, because we need, man, we need a super stout. If we could get, there's 4,000 employees. If you could get half that, if you could get 2,000 employees signed up on OCP active, I will guarantee you we could be stout at the Capitol. We could probably get some raises. We could get better environment. We could get better. And I can tell you, we frustrate the heck out of them right now. I know we tick them off. I understand that. Not my goal to try to tick you off, but I can tell you, we tick people off because we're trying to stand up for the employees. Not worried about the administration. I will tell you straight up right now, I am 100% for the employees, and I'm 100% for the Department of Corrections. Now, if the administration's standing up for the employees and the administration's standing up for what's great for the Department of Corrections, state of Oklahoma, then I'm going to be right with them. And I know you will be too, Bob.
Oh yeah, yeah. But it's when you don't follow the policy, they talk about how officers don't follow the policy. They make a mistake, but they don't follow the policy at all. They think that this is their own private company, and that they can go and fire somebody, demote somebody at the snap of your fingers. They can do it, but it doesn't work that way. We have policies we have to follow. So
Policy is for thee and not for me. That's always been that
yeah,
that's
that's
been the rule. That's been the rule since I've been around, Bob. I laugh. I don't know if I ever told you, but my boss one time, when I was first getting kind of trouble, I worked 10 years, never had a problem. And old boy named John Roberts was my supervisor. I'd gotten a little trouble, and they'd actually wrote me up one of the first times I got wrote up. And John said, I want you to read this policy. And I said, John, I ain't got time to read policy. He said, I didn't ask you to do it. You get out there and do it. And so I had to go read this policy. I'm reading along in the policy. I go, my gosh, they're lying. I didn't violate it. They're writing me up for what they know I didn't. I was following policy, and they wrote me up. And if I was too stupid to read the policy, I would have went. And if it wasn't for John Roberts, I would have assumed I violated it, signed off on it, and went right along. When they
we had one captain out of prison. The warden didn't like him. He promotes him. He demotes him down to a sergeant, just strictly because he doesn't like him. Doesn't like his personality. But we're at. It's nice if you have somebody like everybody likes you, but they didn't like that warden either. So what's that say? But they continue to tell people not to join, bash OCP, and when we have done more in the last 4 years than done in the last 50 years.
But and again, what's funny, Bob, is if the administration would work with us, we could be one of their best advocates if they were smart and they would learn how to work things. But I can tell you this: this is Humphrey's opinion. I think that they think they've got a direct line to the budget people. They got a direct line to the governor.
Yeah.
And I think that they don't think that they need OCP. And I don't think they care about OCP. And again, they look at you as a problem. They look at me and you as working together, so they just gonna bypass me and go directly to these. And what they ain't got a clue what, and this is the whole problem. They come in and they talk about culture, but they don't have a damn clue of what culture they're talking about. And these people get up there in that administration, and they just lose focus, and they lose that ear to go out and talk to employees, and they think employees, because employees won't tell them nothing, and they go down there and they talk to these employees who don't tell them diddly. Oh, they don't say nothing to me. They don't. Well, hell, they ain't going to say nothing because you'll fire their ass. What do you think they're going to tell you?
Yeah.
So again, they lose this focus, and that's the culture.
Well, the $90,000 pay raise is great. I mean, for the individual, that's really good. But we need to get our employees up, the people on the front line.
Well, Bob, it's good for the individual. It's not good for the department. It's not good. Do you think that 90,000 raise help morale, or do you think that?
Oh, it's terrible for morale.
Oh, it has been. I can tell you, they're pissed. They're calling. They're pissed. So again, what they're seeing is I can't get paid on my overtime. My check's messed up, and they email that I'm stupid. I can't get off time. I'm forced to go over here. I'm forced to do this. I'll be fired for anything. That's what everybody is calling me, saying. And again, then they turn around and see this. It's very upsetting. And again, I will tell you, I'm talking to people in the last month or so. Bob, I've not really heard too many people say, hey, I'm kind of scared to go to work out there. And people right now at certain prisons are scared to go to work. They are worried, hey, there's something going to happen. And again, I can tell you in the last 4 years, I really hadn't heard that a little bit out at Sayers, some of that, but not as much as what I'm hearing now. And so there's concerns. And again, are we hearing those concerns? Are we addressing those concerns? And again, I just want to say I'm not against this administration. I'm going to say that they're against me. They're against me. They're mad at me because my job is different from their job. My job is to field all of these calls from every parent that I'm getting called on, from every group that represents inmates, from every employee that calls me constantly, and from all of the other things that I bombardedly get. And I'm happy to get them. If you're listening, don't not call me. Man, I want you to call me. Please do. I want to help you. But at the same time, I'll tell you, Bob, I've seen the number of calls you get. You know the number of calls I get, all the letters. I've got a whole stack of letters that I can't even go through sitting on my dresser that I've got to sit down some night and go through and try to and again, my job's different. They got a different job, but to say, well, just because you report these issues, you're negative. You're negative. No, I'm truthful. I'm truthful, and I'm addressing, and I'm transparent, and I'm not covering up, and I'm wanting to address problems. No matter how big the problem is, let's fix it. Let's fix it. But again, we don't want to have those discussions. And I can tell you, I've been treated pretty hostile, and so I can only imagine if you'll treat a legislator with hostility, then what are you going to do to an employee? So that's the way I view it, Bob.
Well, you're 100% right. Well, listen, JJ, we might as well close it out here.
Bob, I'm not finished. We got all kinds of stuff we can talk about.
That hour just whizzes by, but we need.
And Bob, we want to be positive. We want to be positive. If you got,
that's the thing about it. What's being positive? Is being positive? Does that mean I don't report the way they treated somebody, that he got demoted and for no reason? That's positive, or that's negative. You got, now they had a death at Hart in 2018. FBI is investigating. They're coming back and investigating this incident in 2018. Now, that's not when these guys were here, but these guys done some of the same things that they do. They cover up.
Well, Bob, I think if it's made the front page, if it's been on the news stations, I mean your main news stations, then I think if it's out in the public like that, then why is it wrong for me and you to discuss that? And everything that we're discussing, whether it be this $90,000 pay raise, is on multiple news deals. If we're talking about the rate stuff, the hearing, the whistleblower, all on the lawsuit, all on major news stations, newspapers. This is not something. Some of it, me and you, that hearing, me and you are responsible a lot for that. But the lawsuit, we're not responsible for that. The raise deal, we're not responsible for that. The guy that got killed out at Great Plains, the locking people in showers, that's not us. I mean, that's not, so again, at the end of the day, you can blame everything on us, but is it positive to come on and want to address real issues and want to fix real issues? And the positive thing is, do it in a good manner and let's go. I've never cussed them. I've never, you know what I'm saying? Go back and get anything. I do say an occasional bullshit. I will admit that, but not at them. Just when they say something that is just so wow. Uh, but yeah, Bob, I want to be positive. I know you want to be positive. We want to see great things for the Department of Corrections, for the employees. We want to see the state. I love the mission statement they got away with. They done away with. Unbelievable. Let's protect the public, the employee, and the offender. So
Yeah. Well, hey, you have a nice afternoon. Appreciate you being on here with us.
you
Have a
too,
good
brother.
weekend. And
Yep.
we'll sign off. Thank you guys for watching. If you got any questions, please just text us or email us what you have, and we'll check it out.
And join those.